Hello and welcome to the Moon Underwater. I'm Kelly Daniels.
Yes, hola. I am Steve Jones.
Hola, huh? You're shaking things
today.
up here,
Yeah.
huh? Wow. So we have we're doing video for the first time.
Yeah.
We're sketched out because we're
Yeah.
trying to look at all these wires here, and it's a Wing Wednesday night here at the bar. So
Yeah.
we're making a spectacle of ourselves. But
We should have wings.
We should maybe have
Eating-
wings. They smell good,
They
but
do. Eating and podcasting does not mix.
I don't know. Yeah, not really.
Yeah.
I ate before coming here, and
Smart
so
move.
I wolfed down a can of sardines.
Is that
And-
eating?
I like sardines,
I
and
like
then
sardines
like
too,
those
but it
Norwegian crackers. You know, the dry, crisp bread kind of.
Surprise me every time we sit down. I had no idea.
That I do things like that. Yeah, I was blocking my face with my hand. I'm so not a video guy, but so hey, maybe I'm feeling a little odd because I'm not 100% sure if I'm actually human. Do you ever get that feeling,
I
Steve?
do get that feeling.
Do you ever wonder, man, all these androids walking around that are basically the same as humans, they look the same. What if I'm one of them? Have I taken the test?
And which test would you be referring to?
I forget the name of it. It's too. What is it called?
Kampf.
Voight Kampf. Okay,
Yeah.
we're talking about the great film Blade Runner, but not just that. We did
Right.
our homework this time,
Yep.
ladies and gentlemen.
Anybody can watch a movie.
And we also read the source novel.
Some of us listened.
And, yeah, but you take notes when you listen,
I do.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually talked to you about my students because I'm like, you know what? If you're going to do the audio reading instead, you can get away with it, but sit there with the notebook and take
Yeah.
notes because otherwise it washes over you.
You can't do
don't-
other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the novel is called "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?"
Yep.
And-
Can I pick a bone already?
Please do.
That for the audiobook, it was re-released, I think, in 2007. Great voice actor, and I don't have his name.
It's all right.
Well, anyway, they renamed the audiobook to Blade Runner.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
That's unacceptable.
I was looking for the novel in the library, and Blade Runner kept showing up as a novel, and it was probably the audiobook. So the novel is really, really profoundly different from the movie.
It's night and day difference. I can see where the movie
Yeah.
got the start,
Yeah.
but the novel...
The novel has like 9 things going on, and the movie picked one of them
Yeah.
and said, okay, that's our movie.
All right, so let's start... I want to start where the novel started.
All right.
So the novel starts with our view of Deckard, right? Where, one, he's married.
Yeah. And he's like just having all kinds of marital problems.
He is.
And he seems like most married men, a total
does.
wimp. When, and his wife is bossing him around. Really,
is.
really different from badass Harrison Ford Deckard. It was so weird, and it took me a long time to finally settle
to accept
in.
it.
Yeah, this new Wimpus Decker. And later we even learn what he looks like, and he looks like some like pencil pushing desk guy,
Yeah.
like somebody else describes him, and not handsome or anything.
No,
and
not Harrison Ford.
No,
He's not Han Solo, goddammit.
his wife is hot though, and his android lover are both seem pretty hot.
You read it. How did you pronounce the wife's name?
Iron.
Iron.
I
Okay.
decided Iron.
It's basically spelled Iran, as we might say it.
Yeah.
But in the audiobook, they called her Irin.
Iron.
Irin.
All right,
Yeah.
sure. Why not? Well, it starts off with she's pissed off when she wakes up because she didn't put the right mood. So this is a
Yeah.
world where everybody controls their emotion, like mood stabilizing drugs is what we have. They have it like on like super precise. It kind of comical. She
had
goes, "Oh,
numbers
I'm
that she
gonna,
was gonna dial
I'm
in."
gonna dial you into the listen to your husband because your husband's always right mode." Like, and
he was kind of pissy about it.
Oh, he was super pissy, and he just likes to dial up the joy and just be in a good mood. And it's clear that it's not a very happy world. Everybody is leaving.
What year is it?
2021.
I thought it was 2019.
2019 is the movie. I think the book is 2021. I don't know why they would change it by 2 years, but I think they did.
Okay. All right. It comes up later, and it's important for the movie then.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
But it's basically already passed. And one thing about a novel that was written in 1968 that is predicting the future, he didn't get very much right.
No. I don't have a flying car yet, goddammit.
They always have the hover car, and it also comes across as pretty corny in the way that classic sci-fi sometimes does. You know, he kept saying hover car, and it was even the hover car taxi. I'm like, wouldn't they just call it a taxi?
Yeah.
Like,
no,
it's
a hover taxi.
And,
It's hovering in case you haven't noticed.
Yeah. And so that was like the one big advancement. So a thermonuclear war has destroyed the planet. Okay. So I'm not sure. I didn't organize my thoughts in any particular way, but I think that the novel is really exceptional and exceptionally good and interesting in some ways, much more ambitious than the movie. But it also, I did have some bones to pick with the novel. I don't know. Do you want to just get my nitpicks out of the way?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I had a hard time just believing the world. And maybe it's because it already passed and but it just didn't make sense.
There were some things that were like,
I'm a logic guy, and I'm probably too logical, and I want to fall into the fictional dream.
Yeah.
But if there are just gaping logic flaws, okay, so the world is a terrible place. The United States of America it's like nuclear fallout is everywhere. Almost everybody's gone except for people who are subpar. So there's a eugenics thing going on. All the animals are dead, so that any living animal is fetishized and is more like a sheep costs more than a Mercedes-Benz does in this world. And so it's a trippy place. So it's, post-apocalyptic, terrible world. But yet, their tech is great. And everything seems to be working, and the government is so together that they're evacuating the entire population of the world to interstellar colonies everywhere. I'm like, wait a minute.
That's allowed to be.
Those two things don't go together to me. Either you don't bomb yourself into oblivion, and then you develop your tech, and then you colonize other worlds, or you do bomb yourself, and then you're back in the Stone Age, and you're starting over. And to me, I didn't get how it could be both. And so maybe that was but also the animal thing and how here's my problem with the animals.
Okay, so can you explain the animals that they're coveted, right? And that they're buying them, and you can buy fake electric, basically android animals.
Yeah, but they're just purely mechanical, apparently. And owning an animal is a status thing. Mm-hmm. And people want them, and owning a sheep, owning a goat, those are really, really expensive.
That's a big deal.
It's almost like a mortgage,
Yeah.
And then owning a rabbit is what you do if you're kind of like this world's version of middle class. And yet, but everywhere is a building, abandoned apartment buildings everywhere, but the power still works everywhere. Like somebody's keeping the power on. Yeah, and they have hover. Everybody. The poorest person has a hover car.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, and whatever. Okay, so you want to buy a goat. Goats are worth, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now here I'm thinking, and yet you can get a mechanical goat that is indistinguishable. Yeah. You have to know that it's fake. Nobody else knows it. And that's like $100. So here's my problem with that. Okay, if you can somehow salvage one live goat, and you can also salvage a female live goat, a male live goat, you're going to have some more goats.
Yeah.
I just don't see a world where goats can, in supply and demand, where it could be where animals are that scarce when you obviously have a lot of them. And yet, think about what it takes to make a mechanical animal. You need a factory. And yet nobody lives on the planet anymore because everybody left. And I'm like, who's making these things? Maybe robots, but they didn't mention that.
It's for what I think is a better backstory, right? We find out that, the reason that it's such a dystopia is that it's all been wiped out by nuclear war, of course.
Right.
That could have taken all of about 5 additional minutes in a movie that took an hour and 50 minutes to set up. Like, something besides, what you get the scrolling Star Wars thing in the beginning of the movie, and it says, hey, people are leaving the planet to move to off-planet colonies. Never do they say why.
Yeah.
And the rest of the movie is epic and brilliant and everything else, but that is a really key kind of back part of the plot for why are people leaving? Why are they getting androids?
I thought the movie was actually really smart about giving us almost nothing because we have nothing to complain about. All we know is it's the future, but it's a funky retro future. It looks cool. It's LA. And they're doing like the LA noir.
Totally.
Yeah, and so it's this retro noir, and it's rainy and foggy, which is very noir. And all we know is it's really crowded in LA, and it's crowded with Asian.
Everybody leaving.
But they didn't even really get into the people leaving much, except at one point, RJ.
I guess that's true.
RJ said, there's plenty of space, and there's some ruined apartments, but the city is packed.
Okay.
There's
but
a
you mentioned
scene.
Asian.
Yeah.
I have this in my notes.
Yeah, you want to go with that?
I do. So it was the 1980s. I'll take you back. We're gonna go back to the 1980s for those of you that don't remember. Yep. I do vaguely.
Last thing I remember was going to that Motley Crue concert, man, and that's it.
83, 84,
the rest is just a blur.
So at that time, the fear was that the Japanese were buying all of our real estate and they were going to take over.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, there it is. And there's signs in Japanese or kanji, I suppose. I don't know if it's Japanese or Chinese. But I was laughing. I'm like, this totally embodies the fears of, middle America in the 1980s.
And Decker looked kind of cool and noir, but when he took his big overcoat off, he had like a little skinny 80s tie, and his shirt looked pretty. He looked like he could be in a new wave band. And
how about as a friend of mine once said, you could tell the people from Iowa because of their hairdos.
Yeah,
the hairdos on everybody.
Yeah,
I was like,
80s.
Okay, well that's early 80s.
Okay, so Rachel, who is she's the android. I actually thought that her plot was handled a little better in the movie.
It was. The book didn't make much sense. Should we talk about that?
It didn't make much sense, but let's just talk about a big difference between the movie and the book in that the movie, the androids are really, really terrible. Like, they are just murderous, and they're killing people left and right. But then at the end, you grow to see them as kind of human, and they're doing it because they got screwed with. They're oppressed and all that.
Yeah.
And they're also kind at the end. Roy decides that he's going to be he values life at the end. It's very touching in a way. The book, they're really pretty passive at the beginning, and it seems like they're murdering these poor things that are just all they want. But then at the end, they're evil little fuckers. They all are. They're like It is an anti-android bias in that book, man. If you're reading that book and you're expecting some android love, sorry, prepare yourself.
Well, there is some android love.
There is. It seemed all right too. Like,
they were both into it.
It was very fake.
It was consensual.
Why did she?
I didn't understand why
did she tell him? Why did she tell him?
I don't know.
So, okay, this is what happened.
It's so good.
Rachel in the book is she knows she's an android right off the bat. There's not that whole, oh my gosh, I'm an android.
She's a bit shocked when she's taking the test and he's like, you're an android, and they deny it.
Yeah, she is. That's true. But in the movie, they play that up. She's devastated. She's crying.
Yeah.
She can't take it.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Makes more sense.
You're like, okay, you're not real, and your lifespan is 4 years, and you're already 2 years old.
Right.
But in the book, she was just a vicious android who's in. We find out. She goes, seduces Decker. Decker seduces her.
Yeah.
It's a pretty awkward unfaithfulness. He's married, and he leaves his wife and goes, hey, I got a hotel room. Meet me, robot. And they meet, and he plays hard to get. She plays hard to get. It's a really. I'm like,
it's a long scene, right?
It's a long scene,
Chapter
and I'm like,
whatever. I don't. Yeah.
And I'm like, is that how, like, having an affair was in 1968? It seemed really laborious and weird, but finally, they start getting it on, and he's like, I love you at the end, pretty much.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, yeah, great. Let's go kill the other
right.
androids.
Let's go get the rest of them.
And then they're on their way to kill the androids. She's like, you can't do it because once
slept together.
anybody, any bounty hunter, they call them bounty hunters there. They're Blade Runners in them.
Yeah.
The movie came up with better names for stuff.
They did. Not calling them Andes and calling them Blades.
Yeah.
For one.
Yeah. Skin jobs.
Skin job.
I like, hey,
that's what it was.
Hey, Decker, we got some skin jobs running loose.
That is great.
I like that guy. That actor's killer. And so anyway, she just admits that, I fucked all of the bounty hunters, and none of them could like kill the androids anymore because they fall in love with me, and now you're the same. And then he's like, well, oh yeah? But he was totally in love with her. She could have.
I thought it was going to change the way the rest of the book played out. She was going to murder or retire the androids. I'm like, oh, okay. This is changing how they're gonna the rest of this plays out, and it changed nothing.
No. Well, she killed his goat.
She did. She did.
So he mortgages his whole world to buy a goat, and he's really happy about it, even though he realizes he's never going to pay it off.
Right.
And they're going to repossess it. And then he gets home after killing all the androids, and his wife's like, oh, my God, the goat's dead. He's like, oh, well, there's like a warranty on those things. No, but it didn't die of sickness. Somebody pushed it off the roof. It's like this woman, and then she describes everything about her as if we didn't know who it was.
Right.
Like, some of the writing was a little ham-fisted from a creative writing perspective.
Maybe it was not so for 1960-something.
No, what I think it was is I think this Philip K. Dick was he was pumping him out, man. He wasn't spending 5 years on a novel to get it just right. Yeah. He was writing it in one draft probably, and then a little bit of polish. All right. I think that's how they did it in those days.
It
was a pretty good story, man.
I loved it.
It got trippy and weird, and it got weirder and weirder as it went on, and it got super religious.
Oh, and absolutely. Like we have to talk about that.
Let's not get there yet, though. We're still just on some basic surface level stuff. She kills his goat, and he's like, God damn it, I should have killed her.
Yeah. and he does, yeah. He's thinking, I should have offed her when I had the chance, basically.
He probably should have.
So can we go with more things that irked us? Or
sure.
that I thought was kind of funny?
Yeah.
Things they got wrong. Well, we're traveling by rocket, by the way, in 2019, 2021. We now travel by rocket, according to the book, and less so the movie.
Yeah.
And the Russians, the USSR, which still exists.
All right.
The Aeroflot rocket is early. It's never late. It's never on time either. It's always early. I'm like, written definitely like the 1960s.
Overestimating both the Japanese and the Russians
Soviets,
in terms of everybody else is about to clean our clock, and
they're early. You got on the Aeroflot rocket, he was early. Okay.
Yeah.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah,
I thought that was an interesting one. Just something like that. I was like, well, I mean, they were first to space. Must have figured, well, this is going somewhere. So that's how we're all going to travel by then.
In the very first scene, they have this like mood controlling device that is somehow electrical signals that go in your brain. Do they have brain implants? Is it Neuralink? Or
sounds like it.
But it's really, really good. It's got a dial, which is a weird way to do something that seems like you have to punch in numbers.
Yeah, there's numbers you had to
I
put
think
in.
you should have a keypad if it's a numerical thing, because there's thousands of moods, and they're incredibly specific. Like I said,
but there's only three number combinations. We could do the math on what the total number of combinations that is.
What do you mean?
Well, it was like, I'm going to dial in a 447.
Yeah.
Which I know makes me feel, and it was like, okay, well, but to your point, it was a dial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a weird one, but they have that. They also have this empathy machine where you grab it and it's like full immersion TV, but you become the character.
I thought it was more like VR.
VR, but then he gets rocks thrown at him, and this is the religious thing.
Yeah.
But you are physically injured when you get hit by a rock when you're in it. You have like bleeding on your arm because a rock hit you there. That was pretty intense. So they have that kind of technology. And then he turns on the TV, but it has to warm up a bit because the tube...
The CRT. There's no LEDs. There's no LCDs. I like that one. I'm like, the TV technology was never going to get better.
But also they have a hard time. I don't know if any sci-fi person ever quite figured out the whole idea of wireless. Like, everything has to be plugged in.
Yeah.
They have video phones in the car, and they have them at home, but you can't carry them with you for some reason.
Yeah.
And
have you ever seen? And there's YouTube videos with this stuff. Ask a kid what a corded phone was for.
Yeah.
Like attached to the wall.
Oh yeah, no, that's
there's
funny.
That one, or how do you dial a rotary phone?
What were some of their answers?
They were dumbfounded. They're like, wait, why? Wait, that's a phone, but it's attached to the wall. Like, how do you? And where's the screen?
Yeah.
How do you play games on it? How do you?
Yeah.
So I kind of think of that. Before.
No, I don't blame anybody for not anticipating it, because nobody gets it right, including Neuromancer, which is William Gibson, and that's who coined the term cyberpunk. And he did kind of like the idea of going into virtual space, and there are all kinds of things are really cool and trippy and pretty and kind of accurate in a way.
Yeah.
And they do go to different, like, not really different planets, but they have like space stations all around the Earth, and it's trippy. But he has the hero running around and in mortal danger, but he needs to find a phone jack so he can
gotta be able to plug in.
in the intro to the version that the edition that I read, Gibson is laughing at himself about that. He's like, I got a bunch of things right, but not that one.
Cell phones really fucked everything up. Can we just say that?
They were really hard to anticipate, and yet here they are.
Have you ever heard of that? There is a theory on Seinfeld, the TV show, that every problem that they encountered on the show could have been solved if they all just had cell phones.
Oh yeah,
it's like that show can't exist today. Like that's part of what makes it so fun.
Oh
is
man,
that, the lack of access to information was fantastic.
The novel that I have recently written and my first published novel, both, I had to make them in non-cell phone.
Yeah,
it's just
you're out of coverage. It doesn't work.
You need more problems for narrative. And,
okay, so I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna guess you've never read anything by Michael Crichton.
I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't even seen any of the Jurassic Park movies. I want to. I hear they're awesome,
but
no, I
one?
haven't. Yeah,
you didn't see the first Jurassic Park?
I never saw it, and I want to watch it with my family. And it's PG-13, but they won't watch it with me. And
okay, so I read the book when I was like 13.
Yeah.
And
I heard it's great.
It's a good read. It's way more in-depth than the movie, which is, summer blockbuster written all over it. But Michael Crichton has absolute formula for the way that pretty much I read a bunch of his books, and I don't know, Sphere, Andromeda Strain, Jurassic Park, number of them, right? And they're all kind of similar, where it's like, there's a natural disaster that's coming, so it's cutting off all the communication that we had with everyone else, and we're on our own. And it's like, they strand him at the bottom of the ocean or on an island off the coast of Costa Rica.
So he's just going through a checklist of different places to get stranded.
Yeah, and he died before cell phones really, I think, took off, where then it'd be like, all right, got to get rid of those too. So, it's one of those things that, let's cut off all communication and go from there.
Yeah. So back to our I feel like we have a lot to cover still.
Yeah, me too.
First off, just interpretation
I'm
of the movie.
looking at my notes, so in case anybody...
Yeah,
I have my phone. Bullshit.
You're checking your texts.
Yes, I'm checking my sports betting. I don't bet.
So we're just Are we just jumping back and forth between the two? It seems like the organic way to do it.
It does.
I watched the final cut. Blade Runner. So I watched the first Blade Runner when it came out, and I was a young. I don't know. I didn't watch it right when it came out because I was in middle school, but I watched it not too far out. I may have watched it when I lived in San Francisco. That's what I want to say.
Okay.
Or I may have just seen the first one was the director's cut, and I saw it in Prague in 1993.
After seeing the Scottish guy.
Yeah, that same trip that I'm always keep bringing back to.
It's a well of
It really is. Yeah. But I heard that it came out the director's cut, and so I took a subway from the center of Prague out to the suburbs, which were these Soviet bloc suburbs of Prague.
Like nondescript concrete buildings.
Just brutalism. Giant apartment buildings that are super high, gray, which is very Blade Runner in a way.
It really is.
And I watched it, and anyway, so I watched it that way. I did see it with the voiceover, and this time I watched the final cut, which had no voiceover.
Yeah.
And you just had to figure out what the story was. To me, it was he was a replicant, I think. And the reason why, should I just jump right to the end of, he had a dream.
There.
Well, he had a dream about a unicorn.
Yep.
And the guy, I forget the guy's name. Graf.
Yeah.
Graf.
Graff, I think.
Graf. I love Graf.
And
too bad she won't live.
He hands him a...
But then again, who does? Is that it?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
He leaves an origami unicorn.
Yep.
And Decker was dreaming of a unicorn earlier, and the dream was implanted, and Graf knows it and left that for him, I think. And I love that Graf character. He didn't have a whole lot.
No, he was good.
But he left three origamis.
He did.
The first one, I don't remember what it was. It was just like a butterfly. Was it at all? I think it was somehow impactful. It meant something.
Okay. I don't remember.
But the second one was a guy with like a big dick.
Yeah.
And that was great. And then the third one was the unicorn.
We're easily amused here.
It was good.
Underwater.
Speaking of dick,
Philip K.
If you're, what last name would you rather have? Dick or warm beer?
Dick.
Stephen Dick?
Yeah, Dick.
Rather than Stephen Warm Beer.
That goes without saying.
You could do your middle. Okay, people in the bar are starting to turn around to look at us. We're saying the D word a little too loud.
Warm beer?
Yeah.
Warm beer is much easier to say. Nobody's. It's warm beer. They're like, they got warm beer.
That's what we specialize in.
It's cold.
It's
secrets with us.
Kind of cold.
Yeah. Coldish. Yeah.
So I think he's a replicant.
I think so.
She definitely is, and she isn't going to live long. Too bad. Right. Too bad she won't live. But then again, who does? Is that it? Is that the right?
I think so.
I'm going to keep saying that. I want that.
So to go along with that.
I want that to be on my tombstone.
to go along
You're
with
the
it.
witness.
We just it's immortalized.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? All right, so my question is then, for the book and the movie, but really more the book. So in the book, the movie Replicant. I think it was supposed to be a little ambiguous. You don't really ever see the eyes. They kind of that's
he
the
didn't
dead
have
giveaway.
the eye thing.
Right.
The owl and all the replicants have the golden eyes.
Yeah.
He didn't.
He did
True.
not.
True.
So with the book, given that there's it's nuclear holocaust, and people who are staying on Earth are now mutants of some kind. They refer to them as chicken heads and specials, and they're not allowed to leave, right? And so what didn't make sense to me was like, okay, the humans that are actually on Earth are fucked up.
Yeah.
Deckard never thinks that he's maybe, well, I've lived here my entire life, but I'm fine.
Because it's his job to kill the... But here's the deal. Why... If they're just trying to... The government is just getting every able-bodied person off of the planet.
Yeah. But not him.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, he maybe should think of himself or wonder if he's a chicken head, or an ant head. That's the other one.
That was a good one.
And there were specials. And then the one guy, John, is he JR?
JR, yeah.
JR, who is RJ, I think, or R in the movie.
Yeah, it's something else.
He was great in the movie, man.
He was really
way
good.
more interesting than...
Yeah, than the chicken head that we were presented with.
But the chicken head is both, articulate when he talks, and his thoughts are super, pretty probing, and maybe that was a point they were making, that he's just didn't do good on the test, but he's plenty smart. And he fell for the... He actually survives in the book.
Yes.
Poor Sebastian gets it.
Sebastian's his name, right?
Yeah, and he's got that...
Sebastian, I think.
RL, maybe. I don't know. It's 2 letters. But he makes I loved his toys, like all those weird, macabre flesh dolls that he makes, because he's a genetic engineer.
Yeah.
That was super cool.
I don't have it in my notes. What his name is.
Here's what I was going to ask, though. If only undesirables live on the planet, what does the government give a shit that the robots are going back there?
Right.
Let them go? Okay,
they can,
I think it's because they're escaping and killing, because they're slaves.
Yes.
So they're escaped slaves, and they kill their masters, and then they run back to the Earth.
Absolutely.
Which is no good anymore, and yet...
It's good enough for them, because they're not. It doesn't matter for them anyway.
But also... Yeah, and they only live 4 years. Seems like the whole project of hunting them down seems like a time-wasting thing. Go. It's like, yeah. But...
time is its own death sentence for them.
It really is.
It really is. I didn't think of that. That's, all right.
So there's that. And he isn't a replicant. So the end of the novel, and we can fill in the beginning more, or the middle stuff, but... This religious theme that we get built in the beginning, that there's this guy named Mercer, and it's Mercerism, and Mercer is this guy that's in this,
I thought it was really vague at the beginning.
It was very vague. It was just that everybody does this empathy machine, and they become Mercer, and he climbs up a hill and gets pelted by rocks. It's a very Jesus Christ kind of thing. And then he dies for everybody's sins. It doesn't say it that way, but that's kind of... There is no redemption except in empathizing. Yeah. And so they're obsessed with empathy, because that's what makes them different from the robots. And in the end, Deckard goes off into real life after killing all the replicants, or the androids. His goat gets killed. He's distraught. He goes off into the desert, which is very Jesus Christ, 30 days in the desert.
The desert
kind of
in Oregon.
It's in Oregon.
Yeah.
He climbs up a hill. He gets hit by a rock, so he is Mercer.
Yeah.
But before that, Mercer is exposed by the great media figure. What's his name? Buster Friendly.
Buster Friendly.
Buster Friendly is the one kind of media person that gives the news.
He's on 23 hours a day
because he's a robot.
Yeah.
It turns out that he is an android. So he is. This is a little dizzying, but he reveals with his newscast that Mercer was a fake. He was just some Hollywood actor.
Yeah.
Like a B-list actor, like an extra and a drunk. And the whole thing was a fake. But there was this kind of statement at the end that it doesn't matter. Like, because what he stands for is the thing, not him. And it was pretty interesting. And I feel like I haven't really read William James, the philosopher. But
I haven't.
But I know, like, just a little bit. I do think that one of his ideas was the decision to believe, even when you kind of know. Like Mark Twain said, faith is believing something even though you know it ain't so.
All right.
And
I like that.
But anyway, it had a real sort of quasi-Christian thing. And then Decker kind of becomes the Christ figure at the end.
Completely.
Finds a toad that's going to make him $1 million out in the desert. Then it turns out that the toad's a robot.
It's fantastic.
But he's got his wife, and then at the very end, he doesn't want to take drugs he doesn't want to take the mood drugs anymore.
Yep.
And because he was addicted to those, and she was addicted to the empathy machine.
Yep.
And they both seem like they're over it.
Yeah.
And then it ends with this line. I'm wondering what you think of it. He goes to sleep without drugs because he's so tired. And then she fixes herself a cup of coffee, strong and black and hot or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it's biracial porn.
That's absolutely what it is. How she likes her men. Strong and black and hot. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Had to.
No, I don't know. What do you make of that? I mean, I will say, Ryder's the very final line.
Does he die?
No.
You sure?
I don't think so. Do you think so? Is that what you're...
in my mind, I was like, is he dead? Because he laid down on the bed, and before, the chance to use the mood machine thing, he just passed out, and that was it. And she kind of leaves him there and goes and does her own thing.
Yeah, I think that I think he's fine.
Okay.
I think that it's a happy ending in a way, even though they're living in this miserable world. He's not going to kill any more of these things.
More miserable, do you think, the book or the movie?
I think the book was worse.
Yeah, me too.
The movie seemed all right. I'm like, that was a cool
cyberpunk going on.
He had a cool apartment.
Yeah. He was
L.A. looked
definitely
really cool.
Single, so he had a nice bachelor pad.
Yeah.
They just got rid of her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
And Sean Young looking pretty hot. And boy, that sex scene in her name was Sean Young.
No idea. Okay.
That was her only movie. Like, I hear her career just totally implode. I listened to a film podcast where they were talking about her. She was supposed to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
And something happened. I think that people didn't like working with her.
Oh. They thought she was an android.
Yeah. I don't know what happened, but anyway, we're jumping around a little bit. What about the sex scene? And I don't want to be the woke guy, but it was pretty goddamn rapey.
Super
in the movie.
Rapey. Are you kidding?
She's trying to leave.
And he pushes her back in.
He pushes her back in, slams the door, mad and angry and scary.
Yeah.
Pushes her against the wall, and then he says, "Tell you want it." Like, and it's supposed to be. She's like, no. And
no, Han Solo, I can't.
And finally, it's supposed to be sexy, and it's because she really. It's such
it was creepy.
No means yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, man. I guess that was 1982.
Yes.
But it landed not very good.
It was creepy. Yeah.
She was an android, though.
She was an android, and he knew it.
Yeah.
Well,
you're allowed to do that with androids.
Guess. And so there's this, like the theme of subservient beings, I guess, that they sort of go through, and then Deckard is superior to everyone, and never does the question get asked, right?
Yeah.
He asked the question of, there's other police officers in like some fake, in the book, in some what he sees as like a fake police precinct, and they've been shut down forever.
Should we stop or pause and then talk about this? This was a incredibly weird part of this novel.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the novel now.
Yeah.
Deckard is about to arrest and retire one of the androids who's a famous opera singer. She's infiltrated the humans, and he is about to catch her, but she goes, "Oh, I think you're a creep. What are you doing?" And he was kind of a creep. Really
he was more creepy.
And she's like, "I'm going to call the police." So she calls the police. He's like, "Oh, I'm Decker," and the police come. They're like, "I never heard of you." Mm-hmm. And then it gets really weird, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this guy is totally insane."
Yeah.
He's been dreaming this.
Yeah.
And he calls his boss, and then he goes, "Here, he wants to talk to you." And they go, "There's nobody here." And I'm like, "Oh, he's dreaming the whole thing."
Yeah.
They take him to the precinct. He's like, "That's not the precinct. We're on the other side of town." He's like,
on mission?
He's like, "Yeah, the one
they're
mission.
in San Francisco.
And he's like, "Yeah, the mission. Oh yeah, there used to be a precinct there like dozens of years
closed,
ago, but it's rotten, and this is we've been here for 20 years."
Yeah.
And then he gets in there, and they're interviewing him, and they're like,
it's definitely a police precinct.
Totally.
So it seems. Yeah.
And here's where, again, I think
it goes a little off the rails.
I think the novel really makes a mistake.
Yeah.
They have him. So it turns out that the whole precinct is a fake precinct, all run by androids.
Right.
And they have like when he tries to call somebody, the number can't get out. It just goes inside. So it's a big time gaslighting operation. And
I didn't think about it like that.
It really is good. But they have him. All they have to do is kill him.
He's dead to rights.
But for some reason, the guy that's going to kill him is like, "Oh, I'm on your list. Maybe I better bring in the other bounty hunter who is a human."
Yeah.
And
he
just like
he rolls over.
And it's just like, wait, you had him, and then you just gave him like anyway, it was just one of those. I just don't think the author really thought it through very well. Like, he got him too caught. And it's like James Bond
giving him the test, the Voight-Kampff test.
Yeah.
And it was like, wait a minute, who's got who in custody here?
I know.
Like, I didn't...
Totally weird
that
and then, so you get a second bounty hunter who is in the fake, but the second bounty hunter is a human who's working in the fake android-run precinct, but doesn't know about the other precinct that is just across town that is the real one.
Yeah.
It was pretty ridiculous, I have to say.
Okay,
but
so
trippy for a while, man.
They're saying that they're human, right? But I'm gonna for the novel anyway, I'm gonna say I don't think anybody was human really anymore that was left on Earth. They were all gone. And so that's why I asked the question of how does Deckard not know that he's not human?
Yeah. I do like that idea that everybody left over is a special...
A chicken head, an ant head.
Or an android.
Yeah.
And that the androids are just killing each other because they just like are fucking with them. Like, oh, yeah, you're a bounty hunter.
Yeah. That's how I read it. I was like, well, how's anybody...
I felt like the end seemed sincere.
Okay.
They quit. I thought it was sincere. And here's how I take that. It ends with her drinking coffee.
Yep.
Black and strong.
The only way to drink coffee.
I think it was a wake up and smell. I think it was a no more bullshit. No more of the empathy machine. No more of the mood stabilizing machine. We're going to kind of live an authentic life. And they're kind of doubling down on this empathy idea that is, he kind of, so Decker finds out that Mercer isn't real.
Yeah.
But he still has a mystical experience.
Yes.
So he's a believer. I think and I think Philip K. Dick became kind of a super, I read somewhere that he became really religious toward the end of his life. So he died when he was 54.
Yikes.
And he wrote 34 novels. But,
That's a lot of writing.
That is a lot of writing.
Yeah.
So I thought the end was sincere, which doesn't quite. But I like your interpretation.
I have an authory question for you though to go off of this. All right, so sometimes in novels, somebody's getting something obvious like a name, right? So in this one, it was my favorite. It was Roy and what was Roy's last name? You remember?
I don't.
It was I think in the book it was Baty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
And on the audiobook they pronounced it Batty.
Batty.
And so in my head I'm thinking
Roy Batty.
That's not an accident.
Yeah.
But is it? Is that a little cheeky, like a little come on?
Nah, I think it's good.
It's good?
I think so.
So follow
what
up
would Decker
question
be?
on something you wrote.
Oh, okay.
There's a character, San Simone.
Yeah.
Candle for San Simone. Can we? Didn't.
The rock and roll.
Rock and roll. I wanted it. Let's do it. There it is. Yeah.
That's a good one for San Simone.
I think so.
It's a rock and roll novel.
There's a character named Karma.
Yeah.
And there's some moments that feel like, it's Karma.
Yeah. I didn't think of her as she's the embodiment of karma or anything, but I wanted her to have hippie-ish parents.
Okay.
And I didn't think that it wasn't appropriate in terms of that reading that you did.
All right.
But I didn't.
I had to ask.
Sure, it was somewhere in between,
right.
but more on the side of just trying to think of her as a real person and with a real name and real parents. I thought about her parents, like when I name characters, I often think about their parents.
And that they're not androids.
They're not
Probably,
androids. Yeah. I haven't written a lot of android
Her parents were
yet.
teachers, by the way, right?
What's that?
Karma's parents were teachers.
That's right.
Yeah.
But they were also lefty teacher, kind of radicals, I think, if I remember right. And they would have been that age where,
name her Karma.
Where the word karma kind of would float around.
So
and I didn't want her to just have yet another, Maria.
It's got to stand
somebody's got to
kind
of have a different sort of name.
Yeah. Okay, so then Batty to me is that's obvious, but I don't know about in the '60s if somebody was called
Batty, and then there's Pris
Stratton.
Pris Stratton.
Yeah.
Dorothy Stratton was like the famous Playboy.
Is that what that may be?
No, she was like way later.
Oh.
The novel was '68, and she was like the '80s.
Oh.
Star 80, I think, was the name of that. Do you know Dorothy Stratton's story?
I don't.
She was murdered by her boyfriend, who is almost like her pimp.
I hate when that happens.
It's a true story about a Playboy model that became a, famous centerfold, but then got killed by her creepy boyfriend.
Yeah.
And they made a movie about it. It's sort of... Anyway.
Thanks, Buzzkill.
I guess. I mean, Stratton. Pris Stratton. She also got killed.
She did.
Not...
In the movie, she was the focus.
Yeah.
Like...
Pris?
Is that because... Okay, we got Daryl Hannah.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's...
She was good, and then she became really vicious at the end.
Yeah.
But again, she had Decker in the neck death grip with her her thighs of steel.
Yeah. She did.
And she was like jabbing him with the nose. They weren't thunder thighs because they were skinny, but they were thighs of steel.
She was tough.
And then she was like gouging his eyes and then grabbing his nose. But then she decides to like get up, let him off the hook, run across the room, and then run back to do a bunch of handsprings so that he could shoot her while she's spinning through the air.
Same thing with the singer, by the way.
Yeah.
That was not Luba Luft in the movie, but
Yeah.
I forget what her name. Or in the movie, I forget what her name was.
Well, the movie. So the book, the singer was a famous opera singer.
Yeah.
The movie, she was like a sleazy, not whatever,
A burlesque kind of thing.
Yeah, a seedy, a little bit kind of a nude dancer.
Yeah.
And
And Decker plays a creep. He acts like a creep to get in. He's like, oh, a guy do anything to. He like changes his voice.
Yeah,
Guy do anything to see a lady without her clothes on. And she's like,
she's like, really?
Yeah, rolls her eyes as she gets into the shower.
Yeah, and
a gratuitous nude scene from.
It wasn't that nude. It was like
nudish,
a little
artsy,
a little bit of breast.
No, it was 1982. I think that might be kind of racy.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know.
Yes, kind of racy.
All right, what else you got?
Yeah, I don't know. Are we?
No, I'm still. Let's see. Okay, I've got a few. I got a few just odd questions.
All right.
They changed the name of the corporation in the movie.
It's the Tyrell. What's it called in the book?
The Rosen Association.
Rosen. It's very Jewish sounding.
It is. I wonder if they did that to be like, no.
Yeah, I think so.
Really? Okay. I thought so when I read it. I'm like,
Rosen is like, it's so Jewish.
Anti-Semitism of the 60s was not acceptable in 1982. I
think that's
that
probably it. And
right.
Tyrell seems, I don't know, that doesn't seem to focus on any particular.
And it doesn't change the story.
No.
Okay.
It's just a different.
All right.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I thought. When I was like, you think Rosen is definitely a Jewish name. They changed it for that.
I love the Tyrell Corporation's building. That was pretty badass in the movie.
Hit me with it. Oh, okay. All right.
It was just the building, and it had the whole L.A. was so cool. I love.
But the fact that it's not San Francisco.
Yeah, that's
which is
weird.
where the book is. Right?
The book is San Francisco, and they moved it to L.A. for the movie. I just think they were already there. They're like, do we really want to go all the way up the 5 freeway?
No. Yeah,
too
probably
and,
that. Okay, so let's talk about
their hover car was in the shop.
Let's hit this. All right. We're going way back again.
Way back.
All right. So the first time, so you were aware of this movie shortly after it came out?
I guess so.
Not the book, because you weren't alive then.
No.
You are older than me.
Yeah, but not that old.
All right, just checking. All right.
No, I was actually 1 year old, or like less than a year old when the book came out.
Wow. When did the book come out?
68. I was born in at the very end of 67.
Okay. All right.
I'm doing a bike ride across the country this summer, by the way. I know that's out of left field, but I'm riding with my friend Dan. But he was born like
I had to. Oh, we're gonna. There we go. There's Dan. Yeah.
I still need to download that dinger.
I got. You know what? I had the thing to plug in. I didn't plug it.
It's all right.
Yeah. We're just
getting started. Dan was born in the same year as me, but like a month before. So I'm always deferring to his wisdom. And, it's like, yeah. So anyway, no, but go ahead.
So when I first became aware of this, it was in the probably early 90s, 91, 92. Right. And the big reason, yes. Can I get a Coors Banquet? Yeah.
All of the same.
Yes. Yep. Thanks. All right. Glad it feels real.
Yeah. That was a real interaction.
It was.
Folks,
I love that.
She wanted to get on the camera, though.
She did.
She was, maybe next time we'll
turn it around. So, do you remember Laserdiscs?
I do.
Yeah. The Blade Runner had like 3 different versions, and that was at the time absolutely unheard of.
Yeah.
And, because there was the director's cut, which is different.
Yeah.
And
the original.
So
theatrical release.
Should we talk about who directed it?
Ridley Scott.
Yeah. Which
yeah.
He's done a few movies, right?
He has. I don't really
Films,
know.
if you will.
What's that?
Films, if you will.
Films.
Yeah.
What is his filmography?
Well, I'd start with Alien.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
The Alien trilogy.
Alien was good.
Let's see. What about?
Thank
you. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Table service even.
Yeah.
I'd go with
Thank you.
Alien. What about Gladiator? Is that Ridley Scott? I think it's Gladiator. So you'll notice, you people.
You like films about gladiators?
At home, I do have my phone, but it is in basically airplane mode because we just don't want to know. It's got to be authentic. Whatever we talk about here, it's got to be authentic, and so it is.
We're not allowed to look things up?
We're not allowed to look it up. Nope. So we're just not going to know. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, so
Gladiator.
it's Ridley. Yeah, he's a famous director.
Yeah.
Right, and he's done. Yeah, he's
big epics.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can recall this at one of the video stores in my town that rented Laserdiscs, that they had 2 or 3 versions of this. I had never seen it. We did have a Laserdisc player because it came with the TV that we bought, and it was a Hitachi TV, and it had a Hitachi Pioneer Laserdisc player. And I had that for years. I mean,
probably the films looked better, right?
It was better than it. Yeah, it was like
better than a VHS.
Giant, like a DVD thing.
Yeah.
And I believe that Laserdisc is the last place that the original Star Wars movies exist, which is saying something. It's like, it's been there's been comments that, well, the originals don't exist anymore, which is total horseshit. So these Laserdiscs for movies like Blade Runner, and I looked on eBay today. One of the original Blade Runner Laserdiscs they were asking for, it was not selling, $250. And
oh man,
yeah,
you could almost buy a rabbit for that much.
You really
it's,
could,
or at least a mechanical sheep for sure.
For sure, mechanical sheep.
Yeah.
But then you'd have to tell your neighbors maybe if you wanted to.
Yeah, it was very shameful when he had to admit to his neighbor that his sheep was electric.
Was electric.
Yeah.
So okay,
the title. Do androids dream of?
I think this is where I want to end.
All right.
Go ahead.
I just don't think it's a good title. It's just,
well, so in what way do you mean? Do you think they mean dream?
Oh, do androids dream of electric? So, do they pine after electric sheep?
Okay, that's what I had. Like desire.
I don't think so. I think it's more, do they actually dream? And okay, so we're supposed to picture sheep to go to sleep.
Yeah,
so
I was also thinking that.
I thought it was that, and it's like, how human are androids? Do they have? I think that's really just what it's getting at. But it's just it's a long title. It's a question. It's kind of silly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Does it go with the?
I like Blade Runner, man. It's kind of badass. It doesn't mean anything to you, but it looks cool on a cover. I don't know. You said you're not convinced. You like
I thought of it as being like, do they desire? Do they covet? Do they pine? And I thought of it, and I think there's probably multiple ways that it's, falling asleep, right? Dreaming of electric sheep.
Yeah.
However, he really thought about that stupid electric sheep all the time. He wanted more. My take is on my own take. Is that a thing? That I'm probably not right, but that it's a nice try. And the reason for that is it never makes any mention that he would like to have another electric sheep, but he's got his one. But I thought, I was like, okay, well, maybe it's that.
One way that I talk about fiction, and I don't think it's original to me. I probably heard it somewhere. But when I talk to students about writing a short story, say, certainly a novel, it's kind of a juggling act.
Yeah.
the beginning of the story is throwing all the balls or the pins up in the air.
Yeah.
And the rest of the story is managing to catch them. And I felt like this short novel, 220 pages in my edition, threw a lot of balls up in the air.
It did not catch all of them.
I didn't really... I thought the animal thing just
fell apart.
Quite work for me. Why should... First off, why would it be so hard to breed animals? They have them. They exist. They just automatically... They do... Animals do breed. Yeah. When you have a male and a female and you get a bunch of females and one male and you can have a bunch of goats pretty soon.
Yep.
And it shouldn't be that hard.
To say nothing of rabbits.
Rabbits go really fast. I just don't think they would be that valuable. And obviously humans can live in this. It's like, oh, there's this radioactive dust, but everybody's alive. There's no hint that anybody is. There's no like, oh, so-and-so's dying of cancer. They're all alive, and they're like, oh, it's... Anyway, I thought it was a little half-baked.
All right.
And I thought the religion thing was interesting because it ended on it, and it really had that... I liked... I feel like the religion thing didn't start very interestingly, but it ended interestingly. And I thought that the movie was kind of smart to focus on the one really tangible conflict, which was... Killer robots are loose among us, man, and they're bad, and you got to get them. And then the complication is, I don't really know who's a robot and who's not. Yeah. And, oh, I fell in love with a robot. Maybe I'm a robot. And now I kind of feel bad for the robots. And at the very end, the worst robot of them all is a Christ figure. Yeah. Like he crucifies himself, right? Yes. He puts that nail through his own palm. Very Christ-like.
Wait, so who does that? We got to explain.
This is Roy.
Yeah.
Roy does it in the movie. And then he has a dove in his hand, a white dove.
It's fantastic.
Little,
much, but...
A little much. And he's like shirtless in his underwear, and he's been chasing Harrison Ford Decker around, and he's about to kill him, but he saves him instead. And then he just gives this little speech about, I've seen some shit, bro. And... And then he goes, time to die.
Yeah.
And it's an echo of what Leon says.
Yes.
To Decker when he's about to kill him. He goes, time to die. And then Decker gets killed.
Leon asks what year it is and how long he's been alive.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
right.
That's
in the movie.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I wanted to mention.
Also, the movie was really smart that the reason why they came back to Earth was to find their maker and ask if they can be reprogrammed to live longer.
Yeah.
And also to confront their maker. This is like,
it's human, right?
It's very religious, too.
Yeah,
like
if
we knew religious. We could go and like show up in front of God and say, hey, God, what's up? Why'd you do this? Why all the suffering?
How come I gotta die after I'm 80?
I have questions.
Yeah.
And he gets to do it, and he does it. I think it's a really great plot. And none of that happens in the novel at all. They're there for no reason. They're just there.
My final question.
All right.
You got to pick one.
All right.
Gun to your head.
All right.
Novel, movie, which one's better?
I'll equivocate a little bit.
Okay,
I think the movie is a better movie than the novel is a novel.
But you got to have the background of the novel to watch the movie.
Well, I think so. It helps. It does help.
Yeah.
And the movie spawned. Without the novel, there is no movie. The novel spawned the movie.
Yes.
So, I feel like the novel is really an interesting piece. It's not. I don't think it's. So Philip K. Dick won a Hugo Award. He won some other awards.
Okay.
Not for this book. Like
no.
I don't get the feeling like this was one of his great achievements. I think it's just the one that they made a movie about that was really popular. They also made movies about A Scanner Darkly and then some other.
Well, there's the series, right, for
Total Recall. He wrote.
Oh.
And so I want to read some more.
Man in the High Castle.
Yeah, that's right.
One. Yeah.
That's the one he won the Hugo Award.
Okay, that was the one, the Amazon Prime series.
Okay. Oh, so I don't even know. Is it good?
Yes.
Okay.
Without giving anything away.
Okay.
It's a couple seasons.
All right. Sounds cool.
Yeah.
I thought the movie was better. I just thought it was moody and trippy and subtle and
I agree.
kind of touching in a way.
Great.
I
thought the book was okay. It was, you know what? It's good. It just didn't age well.
Yeah,
I think the movie has.
Yeah, it has. Except for that sex scene, man. That is, it just seems so retrograde and like it just.
Yeah, it's not great.
It just seems like a mistake.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of ways, and even I get it. The noir, the tough guy noir, talking tough to the tough dame or the sensitive dame who cries, but she's tougher than you realize because she just shot a guy. I get that.
Oh, you're talking about the one with Rachel. That
Rachel.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
The movie sex scene was more interesting. Like it was just
weird.
She just takes her clothes off and crawls into bed, and she's just like, and he crawls in with her, and he's like, and he talks about her cold loins or something like that. I'm like, all right, well,
interesting.
That's
better you than me.
And she wasn't as hot in the book.
No.
Her body was like a boy's, and her head was bigger, was almost
she looked
too
like
big.
Chris, right? Same
They were
face.
exactly the same.
They were identical.
Because there's only a few models,
Yeah.
and they just get stamped.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have to agree.
But, yeah.
On all fronts.
I thought that it was... But I don't think that you can just throw the book away because the movie owes everything to the book, and I think it was an interpretation more than a original piece, but it was such an interesting interpretation.
And for the time, I mean, irreverent, and even now, I mean, the fact that they can do Blade Runner 2049, which we're not even talking about here, where it's like, hey, let's do this one again.
Yeah.
And it was still
again.
good.
Yeah.
It was good. Yeah.
I'm going to see Dune 2.
Totally going to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the movie theater. So I think that Dune 1, we're getting off topic.
The new
aren't
one.
we? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the old one I haven't seen since it came out.
Never
I was kind of young, but it was Sting.
Yeah.
Sting is in it.
I mean, it's
David
gotta be great
Lynch.
then. Yeah.
But it's really campy and silly and weird. And anyway, we're starting to
takes itself a little seriously, but
yeah, I thought it was a little slow plot-wise, but it was just cool to look at. So
well, for another day, another topic, another day.
Another topic, another day. So is that it? Is that we decided on?
Yeah,
things?
I'm going to turn you people off here shortly.
All right. Whoa. There we go. All right. See y'all. See you next time.
Adios. Taking with Spanish.
Bonsoir.
Nice.